This is Get Real and Heal for high-performing women executives and entrepreneurs, where we discuss all things emotional healing and the relationships with yourself, your man, and your money. I'm your host, Jamila McMallow, wife, mother, certified cognitive behavioral therapy practitioner, mindset and relationship expert with over 20 years coaching and mentoring experience. I know that when you're the one that everyone else leans on, the leader and the trailblazer, it can be difficult to let your guard down, be vulnerable, and tend to your own emotions. So I hope today's discussion will allow you a moment to experience a life-changing realization, perhaps even a transformation. So let's begin and get real and heal. Well, I am so glad that you decided to join me in this episode to where we're going to be talking about what healing daddy issues has to do with attracting a good man. Now, it is my personal philosophy as a mindset coach and relationship expert to always walk every single one of my clients through my signature 4-step emotional empowerment method that starts with the relationship you had with your father in childhood, then the relationship with your mother, and then if there's any sort of significant exes, like an ex-husband or someone that you were with where the relationship was especially traumatic, then we'll go through that and other areas. But we always start there. Why? Because how we experienced our parents' presence or absence had the most significant effect on who we are today as women, and especially how we show up in relationships with men. So today, as we're talking about daddy issues, one of the things that a lot of women, might want to believe is that, well, that stuff is in the past. That stuff is from my childhood. It doesn't matter anymore. I've moved on. I'm a success in my career. I'm a success in my business. I've achieved all these things. I've made all this money, but you might have a divorce under your belt. Or if you think about your last relationship, it probably was toxic. Or if you actually had a good guy, you sabotaged the relationship and you're no longer together. In today's episode, I'm going to get into why this is happening to you. And if you're married, you want to stick around as well, because why? Because even if you married the good guy, the same challenges and issues are there. Nothing has changed. It takes deliberate, intentional action, effort, and healing to get rid of these ways of being and thinking that are essentially leftovers from the trauma, from the conditioning, from the messaging, from the beliefs that you internalized, from how you experienced your father's presence or absence when you were growing up. Now, if your father was not around, or maybe he wasn't the best example, or maybe he was there but he worked a lot, it can actually kind of manifest itself in your life, in your relationships with men, and that you may seek validation, right? You may feel like you need to have a man in order to feel good about yourself, like the insecurities that you have. You need him to tell you you're beautiful. You need him to tell you that he believes in you and all of those things. And this validation really has to do with a feeling of desperation, meaning that if your father really didn't make you a priority, if he really didn't act like he cared about you, then you might be in the mindset of, any attention is better than no attention. And if that's the feeling that you have, that you would just rather be with anybody than be alone, then that's desperation. That's desperate energy. And you're looking for a man to validate you and to give you something that he really has no power to give you, which is why you keep ending up disappointed and in the same situation. But what you need to understand is that neediness and that desperation attracts a certain type of man, because when you are needy and desperate, you're overgiving, you're overperforming, you're trying to do everything to show him why you deserve his time and energy and attention. And so what you end up doing is actually attracting men who are takers, men who do not really appreciate the good qualities that you have, and who essentially use you, abuse you, and then throw you away when they're done with you. And so if that is your feeling, of desperation, you have to understand that that's something that has to change. The fact that you're successful, the fact that you have a lot of money, it doesn't change any of this, right? And I know that a part of you may be feeling embarrassed. A part of you may be feeling like, I shouldn't still be experiencing this. I shouldn't be going through this. I should know better. But I'm here to tell you that really, honestly, it's not your fault. The reasons why you're attracted to men, the men that you are, and the reason why you show up in the relationship the way that you do and are having the experiences that you're having is because of your belief system. Now, understand, I'm going to speak into more ways of being besides just desperation. So even if you're not desperate, I'm going to talk about some other ways that your daddy issues might be manifesting themselves. But you may have a friend who has this issue. And I just want you to understand, no matter how your daddy issues are manifesting themselves in your relationship with men, the fact is, it's your belief system. And so by that, I mean, if you think of your brain as a computer is only ever going to do what it's programmed to do. It's not going to go beyond its programming. And so when you were growing up, by the things that you saw in the examples of your father, in the example of your mother, how you saw him treat her, how you saw her treat him, how you saw them interact, or how you saw them interact with others if they weren't together, if they had other relationships. All of that gave you a set of black and white rules or conclusions that you drew as a little girl about what relationships with men are supposed to look and be like and how you're supposed to behave in those relationships. And so when you drew those black and white conclusions as a 3 or 4-year-old trying to make sense of your environment, they became a set of beliefs. They became what you accepted and believed as true. And here's what I need you to understand is that obviously a 3 or 4-year-old has no context. They have no understanding of the bigger picture because they're small. They don't understand adult issues from an adult perspective because they're children. But those thoughts, those beliefs, that programming, as it were, that you developed at that age did not go away simply because you got older. In fact, they became more entrenched and solidified as you went throughout your life because the brain is always going to prove you right. And it is going to seek out what is familiar. And so what did it do? You saw your dad cheating and lying, whatever. So you drew the conclusion all men are cheaters and liars. You grew up in high school, you dated cheaters and liars. You went to college, you dated cheaters and liars. You married a cheater and a liar. Now you're divorced and you're single and you're like, oh, there's no good men. When the fact is, there are good men. You're just not attracted to them. I'm going to say that again. There are plenty of good men out there. You are just not attracted to them. You are attracted to toxicity, which is what is familiar to you. It is what you know. It is what you believe to be true and possible for you and how your relationships with men are supposed to be. So until you change that, then nothing else changes. That program, that belief is going to continue to consistently play out over and over and over again in your mind and in your life and in your relationships with men until you take deliberate, intentional action to change it, okay? And this is important because I want you to understand that you don't need to spend an inordinate amount of time beating yourself up or feeling bad or, just like, because the truth is you really don't have a whole lot of control over this. But now that you are an adult, you can take control of it and you can take action to change your belief system. Now, let's say, for example, you're not in desperate energy, right? You don't feel like I'm happy to have any man, but you may struggle with trust and commitment, meaning you might actually have a good man, but you still don't trust him and you're still not all in. You still have one foot out the door waiting for the other shoe to drop. And that could be because you experienced your father abandoning the family, maybe watching your mother struggle financially and trying to make ends meet and figure things out. And so you came to believe that men are not reliable. They're not dependable. And so you have to figure it out for yourself. You have to rely on yourself. You have to trust yourself. Your mother may even have actually said those things to you. And again, those became a part of your belief system. And as you've grown up, you've attracted men who have validated that belief over and over and over again. So when I talk about daddy issues, what I'm saying is that this example of from your father, whether he was there with you day in and day out, or he was absent because his absence spoke to you and how you viewed yourself as far as your value and your worth and your importance to a man, about his inability to show up and be there for you when you needed him. Okay. All of that wrote on the slate of who you were and is now still showing up today as a 35, 40, 45, 50-year-old woman trying to have a happy, healthy relationship with a good man. Happy and healthy is not in your programming. It's not the programming in your brain. It's not what you saw. It's not what you've experienced. And so because it's foreign and unfamiliar, it's not what your brain is attracted to. So then the question is, how then do we change this? Well, like I said, when I'm working with my clients, this is the first area that we tackle, because when I think about the healing process, the mindset process that I take my clients through, it's like an unraveling. And we start at the beginning. We go from dad, then we go to mom, and we move on from there. And so what you really have to do is focus on what happened, right? What did his example tell me about men? What did I learn from watching him and seeing how he interacted with my mother or other women? Or what did I internalize from his absence? What did I make it mean about me and my value, my worth? And then examine, whoa, am I seeing these same patterns in my adult relationships with men? And if you are, then you've made the connection. And that's the biggest piece right there, is you just making the connection and developing the awareness that, yes, the link is still there. Every single last one of my clients has been to counseling, traditional counseling and therapy, and all of them have come to me because it just was not getting the job done. Okay. They, even if they had thought that they had dealt with this, like, oh, I've already been in therapy for daddy issues, or I've dealt with this, whatever. And I always go, okay, but what are your results showing you? So your results mean, what type of relationships are you continuing to attract? How are you showing up in the relationship that you have? If you're involved with a good man, does it still feel unfamiliar? Do you still feel like a fish out of water? Are you still bringing the drama? Are you still viewing him like he's too boring and Mayberry and all these other negative things that you're ascribing to a man who's simply not being toxic towards you? If all of those things are true, that lets you know that you have healed nothing. You may have developed some awareness about the origins of certain things. You may have developed some awareness about the connections, but no healing has taken place. There's been no acknowledgement of the original story, of the wound, and no release of the emotions surrounding it. So that's what I do with my clients. That's the process that I walk them through, because once there's the release, now we've created space to input the beliefs that we want you now to have governing your life and relationships, about yourself, about men, about relationships, about love, and about marriage. And that's where the power comes in, because now your brain is working for you instead of against you. Now it's seeking out what you believe to be true and possible for you, which is a happy, healthy relationship with a good man. Now, went kind of deep on this one, but it's because it's important. It's so important. I know that you want that happy, healthy relationship with a good man, and I'm here to tell you that you deserve it and you can have it. And simply because you desire it does not make you desperate. You're not desperate because you desire to have a man in your life. You're not desperate because you desire to get married and have a husband. You're desperate when you're willing to take anybody because you feel like you just need somebody to validate your existence, because anything is better than being alone. That's desperation, okay? But the desire to be with a man is not an indication of weakness. It does not mean that you don't value your independence. It does not mean that you're somehow betraying your success and your self-sufficiency. Not at all. Wanting someone with whom to share your life is a normal, natural desire. There's nothing wrong with it at all. And so I want to tell you that you're allowed to have it. You can have it. And you absolutely have it within your power to make the mindset shifts, to do the emotional healing work needed to be able to be the type of woman who has happy, healthy relationships with good men. I help my clients do it all the time. And if you yourself would like to have a conversation with me about your unique situation and perhaps how I can help, by all means, visit my website at CoachJamila.com and book a call. Or if you're connected to me on social media, send me a direct message and we can have a little quick chat. I can find out what's going on and see if getting on a call and talking about what working together would look like would make sense. Because this is what I am here to do, is to help powerful women, high-performing women have happy, healthy relationships, not only with men, but with themselves first, okay? So I look forward to hearing from you, whether that's in a direct message or you booking a call, and I will see you in the next episode. Visit CoachJamila.com, where you'll find the links to connect with me on social media and more information on my private coaching for high-performing women.